So this evening, I want to present some insights, some pointers and tips about how to perform well at a job interview to prepare you in general for the whole experience. It's a nerve-wracking experience, especially if it's your first one, you're new at it, you're young, the person interviewing you is older and more experienced, it's intimidating. So I want to, the more you learn about it, the more you practice, the better you'll be. So I want to share some insights about that. So let me share my presentation, which I'll put up in the Slack. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to talk about an introduction to corporate culture. I want to talk briefly about social media, particularly LinkedIn. Then we'll talk about job interview skills and then some sample cyber job interview questions. So welcome to the work world. The work world is different. It's a very important place. Like for a lot of people, it's the most important thing in their lives, their job, which is not true probably for most of you. We're coming from a culture of families, of kedusha. We have values, limud Torah, shmiras Shabbos, things like this. And to a lot of people in the world, the most important thing is like their job, their work, and they take it really, really seriously and they're totally focused on it. And so you have to sort of get used to that and learn how to fit in the place called work. And particularly cybersecurity has a culture where we're trying to protect assets, we're protecting people and money and businesses from bad guys. And it's part of Homeland Security. So it's like related to the military. The banks and anybody who has money are under attack, and we're being hired to protect them. So we're like a hired gun. We're like a mercenary. So essentially, you're interviewing to become a soldier. So you may not have thought of yourself ever as a soldier, but you should begin to think of yourself as a soldier. Look at Dory. Dory's a really nice guy and a fun person and wonderful, but he's a soldier, and that's part of who he is and his character. So you can learn from Dory how to incorporate sort of the mental toughness of a soldier along with all the parts of your personality. But it's something you need to recognize and be realistic about, that we're in a tough world. There's real bad guys, and people are hiring us for our expertise to help protect them. So I wrote here that work is not about family or Shabbos or Yontif or marrying off your kids. It's about helping the company make money. So you have to sort of switch gears and put that into your head, that once you get on the bus or the train or walk to work, whatever, you put yourself into your work hat, your work persona, and focus on that. Because like we talked about in the CV, you're looking to be your best professional self and to present your best professional self. The company needs to hire a person to do a job, and you are claiming to be that person. And you need to communicate to the person who's interviewing you, essentially to the company, the employer, right? You're trying to sell to them. You're selling essentially yourself, and they're the buyer. And you need to give the message that I understand what you're looking for. I have it, and I'm looking forward. I'm happy to work hard to be that role player, that member of your team to do that job. That's the message of the job interview. This is sort of a funny thing where this guy Mencken says, when somebody says, oh, it's not about the money, so you know what? It's about the money. And in terms of work is about the money. And people do work sometimes for other reasons, and they have greater values and the contribution, or sometimes people who don't need the money, they're very wealthy, they also want to work. So it's true that there are other things going on, but work is basically about money. And so you have to realize that your boss cares a lot about money. That's his job. He's hired, or he owns the family business, so he's there to make money, and you have to play your role in light of that fact. I wrote here that you'll come into contact with all kinds of people in your job. It's not going to be like a teacher from Beis Yaakov or your Rebbe in Yeshiva, who are supposed to be a dugma, a paradigm of midos toivos, of good behavior. And in the work world, there are people who are not concerned with good behavior. They're not nice. They could be smart, but have low emotional intelligence. And sometimes they're just jerks. And that just happens, and you have to deal with them. And so it can be frustrating, it can be painful, but that is also part of the work world, dealing with people that are difficult and not fun, but they're in a position of power, or they're your colleague, and you just have to live with that. So you have to sort of get over it and have a thick skin and deal with that. Okay, I wrote that bosses and nephews care about money. I'm just going to skip my story about nephews caring about money, but as I said, money's important. I'm just going to touch on this briefly. There's a great book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, and he tells the story. He compares these two geniuses, and one is Oppenheimer, who, they made a movie now. He's like the father of the atomic bomb. He was head of the Manhattan Project for the United States during the Second World War, a Jewish guy from New York, and he was a jerk. And he nearly killed his professor in college, and he was in a lot of ways an awful person. But he knew how to get along with people in a certain respect. He knew he was from a rich Jewish family in New York, and so he knew how to make a sale. And this other guy, Christopher Langan, who's still alive, and he's also a huge genius, but he's a total loser. His mother was married to 3 different husbands, and so the person that was in the house when he was growing up was abusive towards him. So he hates authority. So he doesn't have a job, or he's never really had much of a job. He rides horses on a ranch. So just being really smart is not enough. You have to make the sale. You have to come to the interview and interact with the person across the table in a positive way so that they actually want to hire you. And we have had this in our course. We've had people who were competent from a cyber perspective. They were technical and good at that stuff, but they were essentially jerks. It wasn't necessarily their fault. They had issues, but one of them even said to me, "Just go get me a job," and I can't do that because a job is like a shidduch. It's about people and getting along. So you have to be a mensch. That's really one of the most important things that you'll ever do and be, is to be a mensch. And if you are that and you can project that, people will want to work with you, even if you have a little bit less technical skills. They'll see that if you are anxious to learn and ready to work hard, they'll put in the extra resources to train you because they see that you're a good person that'll be a valuable member of their team. Okay, so I'm now shifting because we never had time to talk about it extensively, but I want to talk about it briefly, and that is about social media. And it could be that you're not on social media, and that's okay. I respect that, and it depends on your age and maybe your marital status. I understand maybe your parents don't want you on social media. You're a young Beis Yaakov person or something like that. But I am going to recommend that you should be on LinkedIn. You don't need to be on Facebook or Twitter, but LinkedIn is where business happens. And so if you haven't done it already, and okay, if you're a young person, you also have to think about this. Ask your father or your parents or your Rebbe or whatever. But LinkedIn is a place where you can get jobs, you can get leads, you'll become part of the professional community, you'll learn a lot of stuff, you'll read the industry news, you'll develop your own professional brand. And I put up here, I'm going to show you briefly this guy. I went to YouTube about using LinkedIn to advance your career in cybersecurity, whatever. And I found this guy. He's actually not about cyber. He's about everything, but he's about how to make your profile in LinkedIn. So I'll just show you I think a minute of what he has to say. But it just shows you how every teeny tiny thing, he talks about how to make your profile picture in LinkedIn. People think about these things and it makes a difference. Oops, let me make sure you get the sound. Okay.
Forget about Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. LinkedIn is where the money is. LinkedIn is the biggest business-to-business social network in the world. So if you want to be there and you want to be successful on LinkedIn, then it's important that you have a good LinkedIn profile. In order to have a good profile, we want to review 3 key factors. First thing is your profile picture. Your profile picture is very important because on the basis of your profile picture, people will want to connect with you or offer you business proposals or maybe offer you a job. Now, if you don't have a profile picture or if it's outdated, then you really have to work on that. Now, what do you need to have a good profile picture? Well, first thing is that it has to be a close-up. Look into the camera, smile, have a neutral background, and dress appropriately, so wearing minimal jewelry or accessories and certainly no headwear or no sunglasses. These are things to avoid in your profile picture, like shades. This picture could work on Instagram, but it's not really suitable for LinkedIn. Okay, this one, no explanation needed, I think. No alcohol ever. Yeah, these are actually existing profile pictures that I found on LinkedIn. Okay, this one taken in a car, not looking in the camera, bad lighting, the guy with the big cigar, and this lady probably somewhere on holiday.
I'm going to leave it at that. I welcome you to watch the whole video. He's a smart guy. He's a professional business trainer and coach and everything. And just like I never thought about it very much about my profile picture on LinkedIn. And I know some of the Beis Yaakov girls don't want to put their picture there at all, and that's also okay. But it just shows you that every little thing is part of your brand. And so you want to give it some thought, and he shows then he uses 2 pictures of himself, and he uses a rating of does he have integrity, do people want to work with him, does he look like he has authority. And there's this site, this free site where you can get people to rate your profile picture, which is sort of funny to me. Anyway, I want to just share that your LinkedIn profile, although he was talking about the picture and then more things about it, but what I want to say about your LinkedIn profile is that it's part of the branding that that you do through your CV, and then you're presenting it in person when you are going for your job interview. So one of the things that you always need to do is when you're going for a job interview and you already are on LinkedIn, make sure your LinkedIn profile says what you want it to say. If you sent them a CV that says you're, let's say, a junior pen tester, so then your LinkedIn profile should also say you're a junior pen tester. You don't want to have contradictions and things like that. You want to present a unified message across the different media. So I opened up LinkedIn today. One of the things you want to do is to develop contacts and connections. So I look forward to you and asking me to become a connection of yours. This is a guy who took our course, Shimon Winger in Canada, and he just got a new job at Parabolic Cybersecurity. He's a salesman in Canada, so it's nice to keep up with people that you've run across in the past, and I certainly enjoy this when it's our students who are, they post when they get a new cybersecurity certification, they post when they get a new job, and some of them, more advanced people, are posting about topics in cybersecurity, which is also part of the usage of LinkedIn in developing your brand, is you follow certain people. You follow the thought leaders in the field, and you read what they're writing, and you can repost what they're posting. I found this really interesting. And so then when somebody goes to your LinkedIn account, they see that you've posted this stuff, and okay, you're a junior person, but it shows you're really interested in cybersecurity. You're following, big shots in the industry, and you're posting things about different issues in cybersecurity. So it builds up credibility that you're not just a yeshiva bacher, you are a junior cybersecurity professional, because this is what you care about, you're writing and reading about, and you're part of the professional community. So it gives you a lot of credibility. So that's why I say that, again, like he said, forget about Facebook and Twitter and other things. Those, if you want to be there, that's a separate topic. But LinkedIn is where the money is. It's a professional community that really it's an important tool for you. So I think you need to do that. Okay. For the rest of our time, I'm going to talk about specific things in the job interview, turning job interviews into job offers. Your CV has gotten you an interview, or maybe their Atners have helped get you an interview. So now you need to use the opportunity to continue your branding message and actually get a job offer. So these are topics we're going to talk about in the coming half hour. Preparation for the interview, transportation, listening skills, communicating your message, understanding the interviewer, your body language, what you wear, your jewelry, what not to say, follow up after the interview, and then some specifics for a cyber security interview. Okay, so preparation is everything. As in most things in life, how you prepare is the best indicator of your success in your job interview. So you could just show up, right, and know nothing about the company and know nothing about what they want you to do, but that's a really stupid thing to do. And I wasn't that stupid, but I once came to a meeting and I didn't really understand what the company did. And so that was like his first question. Do you understand what we do? And I had to say, sort of. So that does not make a very good impression. You're supposed to be smart. They're hiring you for your brains and for your ability to research things. So if you haven't researched the company, so what does that say about your research skills? So you need to do research before you go to a job interview. And let me say that you're going to send out more CVs than you have interviews. You're not going to have more, probably in all likelihood, you'll never have more than one job interview in a day, right? And if you would have one in a week, that's great. Getting a job interview is already a victory. You have to celebrate a victory of just getting a job interview. So once you get the job interview, do the next step and prepare for it intensively. And that's, of course, research. So you're doing online research. If you know anybody who works in the company, you definitely want to make contact with them. You'll definitely look at them on LinkedIn. You'll go to their website. You'll learn as much as you can about the company, its culture, what values do they have, particularly at this company. Of course, what do they do and how do they make money? What are the things they're looking for in the position that they're hiring? What adjectives, what words did they use in posting this job? Think about exactly, the characterization of the professional that they're looking to hire. And again, be that professional. That is who you want to be when you come for the job interview. And like I said before, we're not lying and we're not tricking anybody. We're finding within ourselves the things that they're looking for, and then we're going to live up to them in our professional capacity. So that's the name of the game. And it's a little bit of a game because it's not just, oh, I'll show up and I'll be myself. That's good for your mom, but they're hiring you to play a role. So this is role playing. So you need to go there at your best and to present your best professional self. So one of the things you want to think about, who will be the person conducting the interview? And I'm going to make some generalizations that the HR person is going to be a youngish type woman. The CTO is going to be a man in their 30s or 40s, and the CEO is going to be a man in their 50s or 60s, okay? Now, of course, there's exceptions to that, but you're going to relate to those people in different ways, partially because of their gender and their age, but also because of their expertise. The HR woman doesn't know that much about cyber, perhaps, but she understands a lot about, she's been given a list of things that they're looking for, and she'll ask you that, but she is more soft skills oriented. She's about people. So that's something that, you want to relate to that in their interview and talk about your soft skills, your communication, your team building skills. The CTO, on the other hand, he may not have great people skills. He's really technical person. So to him, you want to talk about technical things. You want to talk about your research project. You want to talk about, cyber stuff. The CEO is a combination of technology and money management, right? That's what a CEO is. And so you want to talk to him about, the business and the market and so on and so forth. So knowing, you may not always know in advance who's going to be interviewing you, but you should sort of think about in your mind, it's one of those three. There may be more than one person in the room. That's possible. It's possible you'll have first interview with this one, second interview with that one, third interview with the CEO, something like that. But that should help you in your mind, what kind of questions are they going to ask and how am I going to answer them is a little bit of a function of who am I going to be talking to. So there's going to be a time probably in the interview when they're going to say, would you like to ask any questions? And if you just say, no, I mean, that's sort of a pathetic answer. Now, again, it shows a lack of curiosity or interest. There are things that you should want to know about the company. So think in advance, what kind of questions do you want to ask? Make a list of those questions and think about it. Now, you definitely should prepare for the questions they're going to ask you. So you think about that, you go on, you Google it, you go on YouTube, and you'll see a whole list of questions that are asked in a cybersecurity job interview, even a first one, an entry level. I'll tell you now, the OSI model, they'll probably ask you about the OSI model. I was just watching a video now on YouTube where the guy says one of the mistakes is people who they watch those videos and they memorize the answers and they recite the answers, like a robot. So that's also not what you want to do. You want to review the information from this course. And I'm going to throw in right now about certifications. We've talked about certifications. I'm a big believer that getting a certification is a big plus. It's a great asset, a great credential to have on your CV. And even if you don't have one yet, you should plan on getting one, and you should put on your CV, let's say Security Plus, studying for it, expected test September, October, November, December 2024, whatever. But that shows, you're studying for something, you're ambitious, you're looking to learn more, so they know what you're focused on. And so you should, of course, actually be studying for that. And that gives you, a field of reference of what kind of things they might ask you. It gives them a field of reference of what they might ask you. And so you should come in like you come in onto the day of a test with things fresh in your mind where, you're at your best. If they ask you what's the difference between, symmetric and asymmetric, cryptography. So that's a pretty easy one. You should be able to answer that really clearly without hesitating. So you're going to think about what questions they're going to ask you, and you should think about what answers you're going to give and write that down and practice it. It's a great thing. It's not so much fun to actually record yourself, like make a little Zoom meeting for yourself and record it and then watch yourself and see, did you do a good job, and try to improve upon that. It's sort of painful thing, but it's actually very helpful. They're going to ask you maybe what's your greatest strength or your greatest weakness. It's sort of a classic interview question. It's sort of a little bit uncomfortable, but you should think about it in advance and have a prepared answer. Okay. Transportation, because getting there is not half the fun. So, right, taking buses or a train, you're going to Tel Aviv, you're going to Har Chotzvim, how are you getting there? You're taking a taxi. Plan a low stress way to get there 15 minutes ahead of time. If you walk in even 2 minutes late, you're sort of an idiot. Being on time is being late. You should be early. And you should, be calm, have a time to go to the bathroom right before the interview, whatever. Make a practice trip the day before if you have no idea how to get there. So, figure it out and practice. You're nervous, you need to be at your best. Keep yourself calm and focused on the game. The pregame should not drain your energy and your nerves, right? You don't want to be sweating or running or like, oh, I can't find the building. Like that, there's no reason for that to happen. Okay, listening. Now, we're talking about an interaction between two people. So there'll be times when you talk and there'll be times when you listen. And good listening is super important, and actually particularly in cyber, because we've talked about, nobody knows everything in cyber. So cyber is going to be continued learning on the job. So if you're the kind of person that can't listen to someone explain something to you, that's a bad sign. So you need to know how to close your mouth and listen when a person who knows more than you is talking or explaining something to you. So your listening skills are really important. I wrote that it's better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. So learn about the job and the employer by attentive listening. There's something called active listening, where you're sort of mirroring the person that is talking to you, and you are, repeating some of their words to show that you're listening and you're getting it. And you're learning. In this case, in this job interview, it's very valuable the values, the words, the nuances of what's important to them, and that you incorporate and reflect those same ideas, those same concepts, that shows that you get it. Because I'm going to restate again, the overall picture of the job interview, they're looking to hire someone to play a role in their company. Your message is, I get it. I understand the role that you want me to play in the company, and I can play that role. So this is the perfect opportunity to display that. I hear what you're saying, I understand it, and I have it, I can do it, I want to do it, and I will do it for you. So that's what the job interview is about. Find out what qualities they're looking for in the new hire. Allow the interviewer to guide the conversation in their desired direction and pace. Although you are being interviewed, but you don't want to like have a power struggle. I want to talk about this, or I prepared these questions and these answers. So even he says, okay, that's enough. No, I want to tell you more. No, I don't want to hear more. So you have to, again, be aware. Show you're a good team player. You can listen and interact effectively with others. Because if you can't, no matter how smart you are, you're probably not going to get the job, because every job involves team playing, working with other people. We have a young woman. She unfortunately didn't have a chance to speak to you guys. She's in Belgium, in Antwerp, and she had been in Amsterdam. Her name is Yael Ball, and she's a really smart young woman. She's in her 30s, a mother of a number of kids, and she took the course and was really good at it. For her final project, she hacked into a cell phone. It was really cool. So she loves like technical stuff. So she applied for a bunch of jobs. She got a job interview, and she told us when she came back that in the company where she interviewed, she met like the whole team, let's say of 5 or 6 people, and they each had input on whether or not to hire her. So because you're working with other people, they all had input. So that was really important. And she says, like, I'm a nerd, and they go out for drinks after work, and she never goes. She's just there to earn a living for her family. And that's okay, because she's really competent professionally, and she's pleasant and professional. She does not want to interact with them socially, but still in the job environment, she's pleasant and professional. And they saw that and they appreciated that. And so she got the job. They voted her in. So I'm just saying that showing you're a good team player, that you can listen and interact effectively with others, is incredibly important. Understand the role or personality of the interviewer to tailor your messaging. And that's what I said. Is it a woman who's into soft skills? Is it a very technical person? To sort of use the depth of your understanding of other people to tailor your messaging. Okay. So now, how to actually craft your messaging and communicate your message. Your CV was an expression of your professional brand. Your interview should continue to express that message and branding. So it's what you say and it's how you say it. We're going to talk now a little bit briefly about transferable skills and professional values. Because in addition to the technical skills that you need for this job, there are skills that are transferable from one job to another, from one field to another, things that you know how to do that are not necessarily relevant to cybersecurity, but they're relevant to every job. I'm good at writing reports, or I'm good at whatever it is. We'll see examples of transferable skills and professional values. And again, I'm speaking now to mostly young people, and we don't have, a decade maybe of professional experience, but we do have values. And that can be something, an advantage, let's say, coming from our community, that we're a community of values and of integrity and of hard work and of frugality. Okay, we're not big spenders. That could be a value. Let's say we've had women who are in their 40s and they haven't had, let's say, a serious job. Maybe they were a secretary at some point in their career, then they took off years to have their babies. And now their youngest one is, let's say, 6 or whatever, and they're coming back to work. So, how can they present themselves and their professional values in a convincing way? So I want to give an example where she says, well, I'm the mother of 6 kids, and my husband, is learning in Koilel, and so we have very limited income, but I manage the household without wasting any money. I'm really frugal. I'm really careful. our assets and our management. And so the company could see that as an important value for them also, that you're not going to waste their money or their time because you're a person who puts a lot of value on making things work within, on budget and on time and so forth. So you have to think creatively about where, I mentioned already some of our values, let's say Shabbos and Yontif, those are not great values to present at the job interview. I'll talk more about it a little later. So you have to think creatively, what are values that we do have in common? And I'll give you the classic, maybe the most important one, and that's the love of learning. I love learning, right? I've spent my whole life learning, and I love to continue to learn, and I look forward to continue to learn. So in cybersecurity, that's like everything, because as we know, the technology continues to grow and change. And so people who are interested in continuing to learn and stay ahead of it are really valuable members of the team. So like I said, the message is I can do the job, I want to do the job, I can get along with others and contribute to the team. I say this because you'd be surprised, some people come and they like tell their story and like, oh, I'm going through a really hard time in life, but I really need this job, So it's like a job interview is not therapy. This person is not there to make you feel better or to save you. So, don't ever do that. It's more like acting the part of the effective hire. Be that person. Communicate that you understand, and you could be the person. Okay, so here's my list. And again, I didn't say tonight where this comes from. It comes from Yates, the same place, of knock 'em dead of job interviews, like knock 'em dead resumes and knock 'em dead in general. And he does really good stuff. So that's where I got this. Transferable professional skills. So one is like technical skills, things that you know how to do. You're great at PowerPoint. You know how to use AI to make really cool graphics, whatever. Communication skills, right? Whatever business you're in, communication is really important. Critical thinking, multitasking, teamwork skills, creativity, leadership. Now, just putting these words on your CV doesn't do much, right? Because anybody could write these words. What you need to do is to sort of show them, demonstrate them, use them. You can tell a story that shows your creativity or your leadership skills in your job interview. So just saying, "Oh, I'm a really great leader," or you could say, "I was the president of Benos," or something like that, and that shows that you're a leader and you like to take responsibility in groups that you participate in. That's a meaningful statement. So these are transferable professional skills. They're related to sort of things that go across industries. They're not related to the specific tasks that you're going to do in your job. They're things that are valuable, whatever you're doing. Professional values. So here's examples. Motivation and energy. Motivated professionals do a better job in everything they do. They perform with high energy, which affects other people to get the job done right. Commitment, reliability. Here's another one I want to share, an advantage that we're aware of. People, graduates of our course, and I would say a lot of Haredim in the workforce in general, are more interested in job stability, which are related to commitment and reliability. As I started the presentation saying, for a lot of people that are not religious, their job is like one of the main defining things in their life, and how much money they earn and how they spend their money. I have two daughters-in-law and my daughter. They all work in Tel Aviv in secular environment. And so it's a very different culture, the culture in Tel Aviv. And they're all thriving there. These are young women in their 30s, 20s and 30s, and they're excellent professionally in what they do. And they're representing something and presenting something. But what I want to say now is that we've found this with a lot of our graduates. They want to stay in the same job. They're not as interested in climbing the corporate ladder, so to speak, and getting a new job every couple of years, even though they could make more money, because their job is sort of secondary. The focus of their life is their marriage, their children, their family. And so they need to work and they enjoy their work and they're good at their work, but they're not interested in like fighting to get ahead as much as some other people. They're more interested in stability. And so while you'd say, oh, they're not ambitious. No, they are ambitious to excel at what they do, but they're not going to be looking for a new job all the time. And that's really valuable to the hiring company, because the hiring company is always going to have to invest in new people that they hire. And so they want to know, they would like to know that whoever they're hiring is going to stick around. At the beginning, when you get hired, they have to invest in you. Once you've learned the job and you're good at it, you become very valuable. That's one of the reasons you can ask for a raise. But they don't want to lose you. So if you're the kind of person that's going to stay in this job for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and that's your plan, that's what you want to do, so that's a good thing to communicate. That's a value of commitment and reliability and stability that you're interested in, and that's something that you have in common with the employer. So that's a good one to work on. Whereas a lot of people who are, let's say in it for the money, or they're in it for professional advancement, they're all the time looking for their next job. They're on LinkedIn and they're getting, messages all the time from LinkedIn about this opportunity and another. So that is very different. So if that is part of what you're about, of staying in the company for a number of years, that is something that you want to communicate, because that does have value. Determination, resilience, pride and integrity, doing things right, productivity, economy. I said be frugal, use the resources of the company for maximum productivity. Systems and procedures. We're maybe not so familiar with that, of following the chain of command. If things don't make sense, you have to work your way through the system. You can't just run to your boss's boss and, it's actually in Hilchos Lashon Hara, that's also true. You have to confront people or talk to the relevant party that's closest to you before you, run and tell somebody else. Okay. This is understanding the person across the table. So if you do have good, people skills, and you do understand people, so use those skills to gauge what interests the other party in the conversation. Tailor your message and your communications to the type of person you're speaking to. Like I said before, is it the HR woman, the CTO guy, or the big boss? If the interviewer is the CTO, don't talk about your ability to impact team spirit. Talk about your technical project, right? Okay, body language. You might not be aware of this, but body language is actually the majority of our interaction. Your body will be telling a story, so you want to make sure it's the one that you want it to tell. You're going to be nervous, but if you're shaking, or you're tapping, or you're doing something annoying, that's not good for your interview. So you do want to take a deep breath. You want to relax. You want to present yourself with confidence and roga in a relaxed way. And it takes practice. And so again, I suggest that you watch yourself and watch others, and then be an actor. Act like the person that you want to be. Okay, I see, I've talked about this before, that Haredi women can be fighteriot, being tough. And I think about this, we've had a number of women from Beitar who, they have a bunch of kids, maybe they have even 9 kids, whatever, and they're maybe even Hasidic women. So they're very soft and feminine, but they're coming to work to make money to support their family. They're very serious about that. They can't afford not to be serious about that. So when she comes to work, she aims to be a tough professional. So she's a fighter. She's a fighter. And that's great. That's who you want to be. So the fact that you're feminine, that you're a young woman, you're maybe only 20 years old, whatever, that doesn't mean that you can't be a fighter, right? And we've seen that in this war, right? There were a bunch of young girls who were driving a tank even October 7th, and they killed bad guys and they did good things. So it doesn't matter your age or your gender, anybody can be a fighter. And we're looking for fighters in this field. Whoops. Okay, this is also an important one, especially for young women. Your attire, what you wear, your makeup, and your jewelry. I always like to tell the story because my wife Hannah had a client, a Hasidic girl. She was a new Kala. She was married, and she came into office for career counseling, and she always came in with too much makeup and too much jewelry. And so my wife, and she was really smart kid, and she was getting some job interviews and not getting the job. And my wife said to her, you know why you're not getting the job? Because you look like a tchotchke. And my wife said, next time you go on the interview, less makeup, less jewelry. And sure enough, she got the job. So you have to think about that. You want to look nice. I'm not saying you can't put on any makeup, but very little, not a lot of eye coloring or something like that. Professionalism is the name of the game. Look like the employee they want to hire. Your clothes, your hair, your makeup, your jewelry will be telling a story. So make sure it's the one you want to tell. Oh, I have something about bar mitzvah boys and new collars. Bar mitzvah boys, if you've been to a bunch of bar mitzvahs, persona. And the same thing I find about collars a lot of time during Sheva Brachas or something. They're mostly shaitel. Like their shaitel is 2/3 of their story. So that's not what you want to be at a job interview. You want to be a professional. So you probably will wear a shaitel, okay? Oh, let me better internet connection. I'm not saying not. Obviously, if you want to wear a tichel or whatever, you can do that. And I'll tell you, for men also, we had a guy who had longa payas. He had really long payas. And I'm like, could you put those under your kippah or something? So I'm not trying to tell you, how to be or where to put your payas or how long they should be. But you have to realize that the people looking you, they're assuming things. They're getting a message from the way you present yourself. I don't think you guys have tattoos, right? But if you have a tattoo here on your forehead, or your tongue is pierced, or your nose is pierced, that sends a message. So you might want to take out your nose ring before the job interview, right? Because and maybe you're doing a job interview to be a waitress in a restaurant, then they want you to have your nose pierced. My point is, you have to think about it, and you want to look the part of who they want to hire. The cybersecurity industry is not so formal. You're not going to work for a bank. You don't need to wear a suit or something fancy. It's informal. So you also don't want to be overdressed. You don't want to wear something really fancy. You want to fit in. So even if you can, if you have a sense of what people wear to work at the company where you're applying for a job, you want to dress maybe a notch nicer than that for the job interview, but you don't want to, I'll say, wear your tuxedo. You don't want to wear something really fancy at a place where everybody else is wearing jeans and a t-shirt. So you want to show them you can represent the company honorably, whether you be dealing with the clients or the investors. You don't want to be over or underdressed. You want to dress the part. So again, it's something that you should think about. And you could, all these things, there's YouTube videos about them. Your earrings should be mostly on your earlobe and so on and so forth. I'm not going into the real details of it, but because you can think about it yourself and watch a YouTube if you want. Okay. What not to say? There are things we at the graduation. She said a great thing. She said, "There's no bad question, but there's bad times to ask a question." So there's a time to discuss vacation. There's a time to talk about the perks and the salary, but it's not at the early stage of the interview. And it's probably not until they've offered you a job. And I want to talk about this. We had a guy, an Englishman. It's hard to get a job in England. And he was a Chassidish guy. And he's successful, Baruch Hashem, after many, 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 many attempts. And then he asked me, when do I have to tell them about Shabbos and Yom Tov? And particularly Yom Tov, because Shabbos, okay, it's Saturday, it's maybe going home a drop early on Fridays, but that's, let's say, workable. But Yom Tov's the middle of the week. Okay, so you get vacation, but it could be we're working on a business project or the client wants to have a meeting, and Tuesday is Chag HaShavuos, and you're not going to be there. So that is essentially a minus to the employer. And so in as much as it's a minus, you don't want to play a weak card at the very beginning of your hand. You want to wait. So you do not have any contractual agreement with them until you sign a contract. So you're trying to get them to offer you a job. And then you're going to negotiate a contract, how much they're going to pay you and the terms of the contract. And then that is when you need to talk about Shabbos and Yom Tov. And you might think, oh, I'm hiding it. You're not hiding it, but you're not putting it out there either because it's not in your favor. So keep it essentially quiet unless it comes up. I'm not saying to lie about it, but I'm just saying that things that are not in your favor, you want to hold them until you feel that you've made the sale and now it's important to discuss them. You want to protect yourself contractually, that you're not going to be obligated to work on Shabbos and Yontif, so you may want to actually have that in your contract. In Israel, it's less of an issue, but in Chutz La'aretz, it's definitely something to think about. In the interview, you want to stay focused on relevant topics. You'll only use extraneous topics to strengthen your case or your connection to the person. And here's another another link to something for job interviews for dummies cheat sheet. You can look at that. I see it's getting late. Good questions, bad answers. Some bad things to never say in a job interview. I'll do whatever, or asking them what you do, or saying I didn't get along with my last boss, or oh, you're asking me a question, it's on my resume. That's not an answer. Tell me what to answer the question. So, okay, I talked about being a fighter. Don't ask for mercy. Show that you are a warrior, right? People like a strong man or a strong woman, particularly in cyber. You're a soldier, so show them your toughness and your bravery, your determination. Don't cry or beg. Okay. Okay, follow up. At the end of the meeting, you want to follow up on the results. So you can ask them, when will you get back to me, or when can I get back to you? Show that you're interested in the job. There's a number of jobs, so keep track of your progress in a spreadsheet. Getting a job is a job. You have to make time for it. You have to be persistent. This takes time. This is not going to happen easily. It's not like, oh, we'll get you a job tomorrow. No, this will take weeks and months. Okay, so you have to think about that and relax. And the course, as you know, was not an easy course. You learned a ton of stuff, and the fact that you've gotten here today and you're still here with us, it shows that you have mental toughness, and you did it, and you delivered the goods. So kol hakavod and shkoyach to you. But I must warn you and be honest, the hardest stuff is still in front of you. It's really hard to get a job. And even though, we're going to try to help you and get you some interviews and so forth, and we actually have some people looking to hire right now, but it's still really hard. And then once you get the job, it's really hard to do the job and to really perform. So again, you have to congratulate yourself for doing what you've done, but you have to be aware that it takes now a lot of internal strength, because getting a job is frustrating. You don't always get the first job that you go for an interview, and that's disappointing. I just heard a sad story. Our neighbors were planning a chasana and they canceled it 2 weeks before the wedding. So somebody, broke a shidduch. That's sad. That's very disappointing. Life is full of disappointments. I can't change that. You can't change that. But you have to be tough. You have to be ready to continue despite adversity. Okay, I'm going to quickly finish up. Cyber-specific skills. Skills are king, right? The cyber industry is about knowing how to do stuff. So be prepared to talk about and demonstrate your skills using certifications. I mentioned that. Projects, like your final project that you're working on. So, be prepared to talk about that, what you're interested in, past and future. Anything you don't know, you don't have to be embarrassed that you don't know something. Be honest. I don't know. I'm interested in learning more. You'll go home and learn more about it. You'll ask the interview, tell me more about it. I'm interested. And of course, if you learned anything in this course, it's that you can Google things. So you should Google cybersecurity job interview questions and get more ideas of questions they're going to ask you. I'm not going to go through this right now, but I mentioned already the OSI layers and so forth. So sample cyber questions, and that is it. So if anybody has any questions right now, you're welcome to ask.
I want to add a few notes personally.
Please, Dari.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. It's really, you touched a lot of important notes. I feel like getting the first job is the hardest part in getting a job in cybersecurity. I have a lot of really, really talented friends from the army, and they have experience, and finding the first job is always the hardest. Once you need to think about it, the first job determines your whole career. It's not just this first job is something for the next few months. No, if you will get the first job, this is it. The second one, the third one, it's easy. Once you get the first job, this is the hardest one. And my experience to getting the first job, it was for 1 month I did 38 interviews, like few of them every day, and I got like one company, and I had experience from the army, and I'm really talented, and it was quick. Like compared to my friends, it was quick because only 1 month and I got the job. A few of my friends, it took them a few months, and now my cousin took a 1 year to find a job. So, but once you get the first job, this is it. Like you're in, and you only need to think about finding the first one, and at the end you're getting it. And another point I want to share is the importance of the interview itself. Like the first job that I got to the final stage after I did like 5 really hard steps of technical and interviews and so on with the CEO. And he told me, I'm looking for a senior developer, and you're a junior, just finished the army. I want somebody senior. And I really told it, like I really talked from my heart, and I told them that I feel like I got to the place that I should be, and I don't mind coming and volunteering for 3 weeks. So he will not need to pay me. Just let me be here. I feel like this is my place. This is my people. This is what I should do. And so, and then I got accepted to this job, even though he was looking for a senior and I was really junior in the first job. So I really encourage you to first, don't be afraid to take what you deserve. So like keep telling them that you are what they need. You believe that this is the place for you, and this is what they need, and try to talk to their heart psychology, and yeah, and don't give up. It's not easy to find the first job, but you must be consistent about it, and I'm sure you would be able to find one.
Thanks, Tori. That was good. Wow, 38 job interviews. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I was working. It's a job. It really is a job to
It is a
find a
job,
job.
totally. Yes. Okay, everybody. That's it. Thank you. Good night. We're looking forward to seeing your projects next week.
Yeah.
And as you know, I put up a sign-up sheet for meetings with myself and my wife about planning your next steps. So I saw a number you've already signed up. I opened up the spreadsheet. I shared it so you can sign up now. So go ahead and do that. And we look forward to getting together. So good night. Take care.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank
Thank you.